friends, welcome back to my channel. Perhaps you recall 100 years ago, back in the month of March, I attempted to start a new series on my channel called Trying New Beauty Things. I had a few recommendations from you guys and then also some things that I wanted to make sort of a to-do list to try out and test. And then I never followed up with you guys because I lost my camera, you know the story, but I didn't stop testing out those different things. So I thought it would be good to go ahead and do a follow-up to give you a debriefing on how each of the things I tested out worked for me. I do want to continue doing this. I have some things in mind that I would like to put on my agenda to test out, but if there are any recommendations or things that you guys think I should try out, please leave that suggestion down in the description box, because a lot of you guys are very insightful and give me lots of good suggestions, and I would like to be able to better capture them and then report out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the new beauty things I tested out over the past basically couple of months. So as a reminder, the first tip that I was given was to try using my Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer Mist as a hydrating setting spray. It was said to be a dupe for the MAC Fix Plus setting spray, which I do love. And truthfully, for the wintry type of months or the colder, drier months, I do like to have a more hydrating or dewy setting spray because it helps breathe some life into my super ghostly face. And I actually had two quote-unquote primer mists. I had the Hard Candy one, and then I also had the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Rose. And these sort of sat in my setting spray collection untouched because I really don't like spraying a primer. Don't know why, but I just don't really like doing that. So I pulled these out and used them for those purposes. It's been a while since I've had the MAC Fix Plus setting spray, so I can't necessarily say if it's an exact dupe, but I enjoyed it. So much so that I have finished off this entire Hard Candy mist. And I will also say that I didn't love the sprayer, but for all intents and purposes, this worked as a nice hydrating setting spray. It helped the longevity of my makeup, but it also helped me sort of breathe some life into my makeup. So I would repurchase this despite not loving the sprayer as much. I think that it is still a really good product. Once I finished this off, I decided to bring in the Wet n Wild one, and I also had really positive results with this. But what I will say is there's only 1.52 fluid ounces in here, which for a setting spray, it won't go a super long way. This is a little bit bigger. It's 2.2 fluid ounces. It's kind of like the one con. These are relatively cheap, but I think the cost would add up compared to like a 5 or a 6 ounce setting spray. But again, I think I would purchase these, either one of these, over actually purchasing the MAC Fix Plus because I like the effect of these. I still have, I would say, maybe half of this one left, and I'm not really using this type of setting spray right now with it being much more muggy and humid out in my region of the country. But these worked really well for the purpose that I was suggested, so I am very, very happy to find that out and save myself and maybe you some bucks. The second suggestion that I got had to do with my Hourglass Ambient Lighting Strobe Light Setting Powder. This I got, I think it came in like some Sephora favorites item, and I've heard a lot of people who rave about this, but I've always left myself wondering, what do I do with it? And whenever I would think to pull it out, I wouldn't want to like pull up Sephora and read about it. So I was basically informed by you all that this is meant to serve as a finishing powder. That was a new concept for me, and essentially a finishing powder is meant to help you sort of blend all the different things you've put on your face. So I decided to give it a try. I definitely think that this does that, but what I will say is I feel like it makes my face a little shiny. Like, I don't know, I noticed it a long time ago when I was using it and I filmed. I felt like my skin overall just looked, I don't know if dewy is the right word or shiny, but my face just didn't look how it normally does. So I'm not sure if this is something I love. I feel like maybe in the winter it might be better for me when my skin naturally just looks a little bit more dull, and this can make it look less dull. But I didn't love the effect that it gave, that it almost seemed like I was putting highlighter all over my face. So I don't know, I'm still not sold on this. The one thing that I will say is I feel like this will get worked through really fast if I do adopt it into my routine, because just using it a few times, I was starting to see like some dipping and wearing away of the product. So I guess that's a good sign. I don't really know, but I think for me, the jury is still kind of out on this in the sense of I don't think I need this in my routine. I would probably just adopt it more to finish this off than actually repurchase it and make it an everyday thing. I guess I just don't struggle with blending or feeling like things aren't blended on my face. So I'm glad that I know what this is used for. I'm just not sure it really is something that I feel like I need in my routine. The next suggestion I had was to help me with a problem that I had in my makeup collection, which was that I had a bunch of foundations that were way too light and a few foundations that were too dark for me. So it was suggested that I mix foundation and concealer together to get the right match for me. This was a novel concept because I had only ever used like a whitening mixing medium to help lighten foundation. But since I had a surplus of those concealers, it was an awesome suggestion. The two foundations that I wanted to try this out with were the J Manual Beauty Filter Finish Collection Skin Perfector Foundation, and then the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation. Both of these are just a touch too dark for my skin tone. So when I first started testing this out, I pulled the J Manual Beauty one. I think it was because I've just gotten more noticeable progress on it, so I was more motivated to want to use this. And I was mixing it with my e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer in Fair Beige, which is very, very light. What I will say is mixing these two absolutely worked. I have a really like healthy dent on this concealer thanks to mixing it with the foundation. And even though I wasn't trying to be like too liberal with what I was mixing, I still had a lot of progress on both of these. The one thing that I will say that I didn't really think about when I was mixing these was that both of these are pretty good coverage products. So together they are super, super full coverage products. For me, that's a little much. Like I definitely could feel that it was a little bit heavier, and I definitely felt like I noticed it more on my skin. I think it looked great when I was filming. Like I thought my skin looked beautiful when I was filming, but in my everyday life, it felt a little aggressive. So for me, this time of year, I definitely don't want that kind of coverage. There are a lot of days once we get to like end of June, July, I don't even wear foundation. I just wear concealer, some blush, bronzer, and highlighter, basically everything except foundation, and I like the look of that. I don't struggle with a lot of blemishes or needing to cover up a lot of problematic skin areas, so I don't need this level of coverage. So I'm definitely going to retire it for right now, and I think once we get back into the colder months, I'll probably reserve this for more weekend time where I'm okay feeling like I have a very full face of makeup. But I just don't necessarily love looking that done up when I go to work. So it's just a preference thing. I think if you're somebody who likes really full coverage and you are struggling with some kind of dark foundation, this is an excellent way to combat it and a relatively inexpensive way to combat it, especially if you're working with a concealer like this. So I'm really glad that I've discovered this trick, and I'm certainly not going to buy any more whitening products anytime soon. But right now, this is not a thing that I'm going to continue to do in the summer. To wrap this up really fast, I will also mention that I didn't try the trick with the Fenty Beauty. Once I realized how full coverage these two look together, I didn't want to do it with the Fenty one, only because the Fenty one already, to me, is a lot of coverage. This J Manual product, I don't think is as full coverage. It gets there when I mix it with a concealer, but this all on its own is very high coverage. So I think this will kind of just linger for a while, and I'll probably pull it out and use it in the like wintry months. Maybe I'll pull it out. I could see myself using the Fenty one in the summer, like nights when I'm looking for something more full coverage and also sweat proof, because this is a great foundation. I just wish that I had gotten this in the correct color to begin with. The last thing I wanted to test out was one of my drugstore eyeshadow palettes. I've actually really not stayed on track with using my drugstore eyeshadows. I think to me that's a sign that I might want to declutter a majority of them, because I just really gravitate more towards palettes. But I remember loving the quality of one of my NYC Individual Eyes palettes, and I took some of the shadows out and depotted them into my big, massive black eyeshadow magnetic palette. So I had another one that I wanted to test out, which is called Best of Broadway, Created for Brown Eyes. As a reminder, you get 4 shadows in here. You have like this creamy highlighter product and then this creamy base product. Because this is so old, I nixed those two really fast and wanted to try out just these shadows. Essentially where I came to for this was that the three like shades here are pretty generic, not the best quality. Don't need to save these because I have so many other colors that I like. The only shadow that I did enjoy was, are we surprised, this light sort of champagne-y color. I think it had really good payoff. I'm a girl who likes lid products, so I'm going to actually depot this if I can. This packaging is a little, like, it's hard plastic, so I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but if I can salvage and get this shadow out, I will keep it and add it to my magnetic palette. But aside from this, I don't need the rest of the palette. It was just okay. I think because I have so many other great quality eyeshadows that this can't quite hang. I'm just glad that I was able to test this out, and I'm hoping that I can get back on track with trying out the rest of my drugstore eyeshadow palettes. I'm sure I'm gonna end up decluttering most of them, but I at least want peace of mind, I suppose, that they are not great quality or that they're not my color preference before I send them back into the makeup abyss. The fourth thing that I was testing out was my future lip product. I had high ambitions that I would be able to very quickly finish off the L'Oreal Ferris Nude lipstick. It's still hanging on. So I basically looked at the remainder of my like lipstick products that I had left and wanted to figure out what one that I would want to use. As a reminder, I had the Mally Lip Magnifier in Golden Star, which is like a sharpening type of lipstick. I had the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine 906 Burnished Blush lipstick. I had one of these L'Oreal Glossy Bombs in Ginger Candy. I had two of these Physician Formula Maru Maru Butter. They call them like lip products, but these are very opaque. I had Soaking Up the Sun and Mauvin to Brazil. And then lastly, I had this NYX Butter Lipstick in Sandy Kiss. This is the one that I'm planning on pulling out and wanting to use up. The reasons I chose this was because, one, this is the oldest remaining product that I have in this category, so I figured it would be good to use it up. I also like that it is relatively nude leaning. It's like a nudie pink, and so I feel like I can apply a lot of glosses over it without any problems, and it can match a lot of different eye looks. So I feel like for that reason it would be good for me to work through it. I sincerely have no idea how long this will take me to use because it is essentially brand new, but I just feel like it will be a great product for me to get use out of. So you will be seeing this added to a project pan once I'm done with that L'Oreal lipstick, hopefully very, very soon. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed hearing about my experience with these products, the different things that I learned, things I'm going to adopt, things that I'm not quite sure I'm going to adopt, how essentially all of this played out. Again, I am trying to continue this series. I have some of my own things that I want to test out, but if you have any recommendations or suggestions based on my makeup collection and my preferences, let me know in the comments below. I would love to add them to my next roundup. I hope you're having a great day. I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.